talking about how to connect with any audience, which happens before you actually start speaking. In my experience, speakers often think that they should start by writing the speech, that is the beginning point. To me, that's a lot like getting in your car and starting to drive, but having no destination in mind, because you have no idea where you're going to end up. In fact, I believe that the most important place to start any speech is with your audience. If you skip this step of understanding and knowing your audience, here is what I have seen happen over and over and over again. People go and they write a beautifully crafted speech and they deliver it really well, but it doesn't achieve what you want it to achieve. In fact, it can confuse the audience and maybe at times even alienate them. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's like pulling up to a service station or a gas station for our international friends. You park at the pump and you get out and you look, and there are 3 types of fuel that you can get. You can get petrol, diesel, or gas. They're the 3 options available. And they're all valid options, right? They will all power a vehicle. But if you put the wrong fuel in your car, at the very best, you're not going anywhere. And at worst, you're going to create a much bigger problem for yourself. But if you choose the right fuel for your car, then your car's going to run really smoothly and it will get you exactly where you want it to go. Knowing your audience is the fuel for your speech. And the most effective speakers use what's called an audience-centric approach, which is a fancy word which just means the message is built around the audience and what you want them to do at the end of the talk. Now, to do that, you actually have to start with the audience, because when you understand the audience before you start writing your speech, that allows you to tailor the message directly to that particular group. So you can speak to them in a way that will dramatically increase your chance of success for whatever you want that speech to accomplish. Here's the bottom line that is really important, especially if you get anxious or stressed or nervous about talking in front of people. This is brutal, but it's really important to understand. Your speech has 0 to do with you. It's actually about your audience. I'm going to repeat that. Your speech is not about you. It's about your audience. It's about transferring your ideas into your audience's minds. And you cannot do that well if you do not understand your audience. The more you know about your audience, the better you can talk to them. It means that your message can become clearer, the audience will understand you faster, and your impact, what you want them to think, do, or feel at the end of your talk, becomes much stronger. To give you an example in real life, if you've ever done Facebook advertising, everything is audience-centric. You can target your audience by location, their behaviors, their employment, their interests, their age group, their relationship status, their gender, what pants they're wearing that day, almost everything. Why does Meta do that? So that the message reaches the right people. Great speakers do the same thing. They study what works and they learn from it and they adapt it to suit their message, because success leaves clues. When you invest time in understanding your audience, there are certain things that are going to happen. First off, you're going to understand their perspective, which is super important. You know your topic, but you don't know how your audience is going to respond to that topic until you actually study them. Now, you might be presenting an idea in a corporate workplace, for example, that improves efficiency, which is a great concept on paper. But if that efficiency threatens somebody else's status or job prospects, and you don't see that coming, then your message is going to fail. The next thing that researching your audience does is it helps you to build that common ground. You can use examples that your audience recognizes, and you can speak to them in a way that makes them feel like you know them and what they're going through in a way that feels really familiar. And if you can step into their mindset, then you can build a bridge from what they know to what you want them to understand. The next thing that knowing your audience does is it helps you improve that information transfer from you to your audience. Because when that bridge exists, your message is going to land faster, clearer, and with much more impact. The fourth thing that knowing your audience does for you as a speaker is it keeps your content focused and relevant. So if you're a bit of a rambler, this one's for you. You see, different audiences relate to different things. If you mention the wrong reference to an audience, you're going to completely lose connection instantly. So if you use an example that's not relevant to the audience, they're like, well, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. They don't know me. Why would I bother listening to them? And finally, knowing your audience helps you to adjust the language that you use. For example, is English their first language? If it's not, then you're going to need to make sure that the level at which you're speaking and the vocabulary that you're choosing is appropriate for somebody who might have comprehension challenges. Pace becomes very important there. The other thing that you might recognize if you're studying your audience before you prepare your talk is that the use of jargon might alienate your audience. If you're using acronyms that they don't understand, that's going to make you distant and disconnected from your audience. If you can answer those questions early, it's going to save you a stack of time preparing your talk and avoid lots of confusions later on. So, start your talk by investigating the audience. And when you do this, you choose the right fuel for your message. You create relevance, you build connection, and most importantly, you dramatically increase your chance of success for that audience to understand and know what you want them to think, do, and feel at the end. When I go and speak at any event, my first question to the event organizer is, who is my audience? What are their challenges? What are their top 3 to 5 pain points? And that is where I start when I'm writing any kind of talk. So knowing your audience is where you begin your talk. Do that first, and then you'll be able to connect with your audience and have a much more powerful impact as a speaker.